Hello, hi everyone. My name is Sonali. I'm a sustainability consultant based out of Delhi, India. I'm a lead AP in building design and construction, and today we are going to learn about the LEED process. So, this video is part of our social initiative where we aim to train people to build a community of skilled green building professionals who are preparing for the LEED G exam and make a difference. So, do hit like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment on what you think about it. So, let's get going. So the learning outcomes of today's videos are listed here, which are the minimum program requirements, lead boundary, certification process, credit interpretation requests, lead online, lead reference guides, and pilot credit library. To go to the first one, which are the minimum program requirements. So the first one here, MPRs, that's a short for that. So MPRs are basically minimum requirements that you need if you want to get the project certified or even register. So if a project is targeting certification at any level, they have to achieve these three or they should be compliant with these three requirements. Okay, so the first MPR is that the project must be in a permanent location on existing land. So what does this mean? So all LEED projects that are constructed and operated, they should be on a permanent location on an existing land. No LEED projects is designed to move at any point in its lifetime that cannot pursue LEED certification. This requirement applies to all land within the LEED boundary or LEED project. So for example, if you have a project which is an exhibition and or is a circus that is going to be dismantled and moved to a different location in its lifetime, then this project cannot go for the LEED rating or it does not qualify for LEED rating. The second requirement is must use reasonable LEED boundaries. So the project must use reasonable LEED boundaries. It's basically defining a reasonable LEED boundary ensures that your project is accurately evaluated with regards to its environmental impacts associated with the project and its associated grounds. So this LEED boundary that we are talking here, it should include the continuous land that is associated with the project or it supports its typical operations. So this includes your land altered as a result of construction and features used primarily by the project occupants such as hardscapes, landscapes, parking areas, sidewalks, those kind of things which may be outside of a plot boundary, but they need to be included in the LEED boundary. So this is where there might be a difference in those two. Any septic tank or stormwater treatment equipment which is not within the site or maybe if it's far or a common entity, then that's also to be included in the LEED boundary. Landscaping. This applies to any landscaping that is used by the occupants. The third requirement is must comply with project size requirements. So this MPR is designed to evaluate buildings and spaces or neighborhoods of a certain size because LEED requirements do not accurately assess the performance of project outside of these size requirements. So there are some minimum thresholds for each type of rating system. So you don't need to memorize for each rating system the minimum size, but it's good to remember for BD plus C, which is what is primarily discussed here. So for building design and construction rating system, the minimum area is, or gross floor area is 1000 square feet or 93 square meters. Below this, the project is not qualified to go for LEED rating. So these MPRs are actually applicable to all LEED projects except for LEED homes and LEED neighborhood development, as you can see here. So yeah, so these three are applicable to these three only, not to the ND and homes rating system. Right, we can move to LEED boundary, which was briefly discussed in the MPRs. This LEED boundary is very important when we're registering a project because if we decide the LEED boundary, once we decide the LEED boundary, it is important that all your credits that you're targeting, they are compliant within that boundary. Right. So LEED boundary is basically a site area that is affected by the construction of a project or by its associated operations, which includes again your parking, your open spaces, or any other services or any other landscape that is associated for the building occupants. So again, this is a continuous land that is associated with the project and it supports its typical operations. So as you can see in this example, you have a site where there's a building and then there's some road that is going along, a site entry and the road is going along, and then there's some landscape area. So we need to assign the LEED boundary when we register the project or when we submit the documentation. It is important to understand that all your documentation is corresponding to this site boundary or LEED boundary. So the LEED project boundary, it may not include land that is owned by a party other than that which owns the LEED project, unless the land is associated or supports normal building operations for the project. And gerrymandering of a LEED project boundary is prohibited. So gerrymandering is basically when the project is using the boundary or excluding sections of the land of the boundary to create boundaries in unreasonable shapes or the sole purpose of complying with prerequisites or credits. So that is not allowed or strictly prohibited. LEED campus. So basically, when there's on one side you have multiple buildings, so those projects go for LEED campus certification rather than individual buildings. So in this case, this is applied to projects that are on a shared site and also that they are under control of a single entity. For example, it could be a corporate or educational campus, a government institute, or commercial development. So as you can see, there are multiple buildings, even of different typologies or different adaptations. They can go under a single campus, and then individual building certification can be pursued as necessary. Okay, so now that we have finished some part of the video, we can maybe get to a question. So here it is. Which one of the below is not a minimum program requirement or MPR? A. Use a reasonable site boundary. B. Achieve a minimum of 60 points. C. Comply with minimum building area. And D. Comply with environmental laws. You can take a moment and pause here to think about the right answer, and I'll just show the right answer now. The right answer is B. Achieving minimum 60 points is not an MPR. So let's go over each option and understand. So first is use a reasonable site boundary. We know that this is an MPR, we've just discussed this. B, achieve a minimum of 60 points. So achieving a certain number of points is not an MPR, at least not from those three, but if the project wants to achieve a certain level, then they need to achieve the minimum number of points, right? Which is again 40 and not 60. So this is probably our first incorrect answer. C is comply with minimum building area. Again, this is an MPR, MPR number 3. D is comply with environmental laws. So this one is not necessarily part of the list, but this is again a minimum requirement by default because the project has to comply with environmental laws of the local and region if they want to pursue the certification. Once we delve into the different reference guides, you will see that environmental laws and bylaws following that is like a prerequisite. So B would be our correct answer here because that is not an MPR. Okay. C, LEED reference guides. So LEED reference guide, these have been developed to aid in the implementation and understanding of the specific rating systems. Each rating system has its own reference guide with their intent, requirements, and strategies for each prerequisite and credit. So project can choose from these 5 options. They should be using 40-60 rule here to determine which rating system is best suited for the project. So as per the rule, if the rating system applies to 60% or more of the area, then the team should use that rating system. So here we have LEED BD plus C, building design and construction, LEED ID plus C, interior design and construction, LEED O&M, operations and maintenance, LEED neighborhood development, ND, and LEED homes, design and construction. So we can move, so these are called adaptations, and we can move to each one of them separately to understand what they have. Right. So under LEED BD plus C, we have different adaptations, and these BD plus C is applicable to buildings that are new construction or are undergoing major renovation. So again, in addition, 60% of the project gross floor area that must be complete by the time of certification, except for LEED BD plus C core and shell that you see from this list, because core and shell does not include interior fit outs. So the 60% rule is exempted for that one. First one is LEED new construction. So this category is actually applicable to the ones that are not the below buildings, the below categories like schools, retail, healthcare, data centers. If a building is not fitting into the below categories, then that goes for the new construction category. And this also may include your high-rise residential, which is at least 9 stories or more, because residential buildings below 9 stories, those are covered in BD plus C homes and BD plus C multifamily mid-rise towards the end. LEED BD plus C core and shell. So this rating system or this adaptation is applicable to the buildings that are new construction or major renovation only for the exterior shell and core and mechanical and electrical and plumbing units. So this excludes your interior fit outs. So this is applicable for buildings such as a contractor or developer. They are building the shell and then they're leasing the spaces to other parties. Then they can go for core and shell for certification. And this is again applicable if the 40% of the glass floor area that should be complete by the time of certification. BD plus C schools. So this one is applicable, as the name suggests, to all the ancillary learning spaces on K-12 school grounds. And this is also applicable to schools which are used for higher education. And if the entire school is going for certification, then it is applicable to the non-academic buildings on the school campus as well. Retail. So retail, this category is again applicable to the retail sale of consumer product goods. It includes both direct customer service areas and preparation of storage areas that support the customer service. Healthcare, this is applicable to hospitals that operate 24 hours, 7 days a week and provide inpatient medical treatment, including acute and long-term care. Data centers. So these buildings are specifically designed and equipped to meet the need of high density computing equipment, such as your server racks used for data storage and processing. So this again follows the rule of data centers being part of the building greater than 60% of the gross floor area, right? Because they are highly energy consumers. So that's why it is separate from an office space or any other commercial building. Hospitality. So this category is dedicated to hotels, motels, inns, or other businesses with the service industry that provide transitional or short-term lodging with or without food. Warehouses and distribution centers. This is applicable to buildings that store goods, manufactured products, merchandise, raw materials, or personal belongings, such as self-storage. So the last two categories are LEED BD plus C homes and BD plus C multifamily residences. Both of them are applicable to residential buildings, but at different stories. So homes is applicable to uh, buildings, residential buildings, single family or multifamily, up to 1 to 3 stories. And multifamily mid-rise is applicable to multifamily residential buildings of 4 to 8 occupiable stories above grade. And in both the cases, 50% or more of the area should be residential, because we have mixed use buildings as well. So at least 50% should be residential to claim it under this category. Now, for buildings that want to are above 8 stories and they want to go for certification, they will be used in the new construction, the first category, as appropriate. So the next adaptation is LEED for interior design and construction, or ID plus C. This adaptation is applicable to complete interior fit out, and in addition to this, at least 60% of the project's gross floor area that must be complete by the time of certification. So as we discussed in the previous one, core and shell. So there are components where somebody wants to get their interior spaces certified. So this adaptation would be best suited for those kind of projects where we're only looking at interior fit outs and not the shell, core and shell structure of the building. This has three categories: commercial interiors, retail, and hospitality. Commercial interiors are dedicated to functions other than retail or hospitality. So, whatever is apart from retail and hospitality, that goes under this category. We have retail, so these are spaces that are used to conduct retail sale of customer product goods. It includes both direct customer service, showrooms, and preparation of the storage areas that support the customer service. And hospitality. These are dedicated to hotels, motels, inns, and other businesses with the service industry that provide transitional or short-term lodging. Now, moving to the next adaptation, which is LEED for operations and maintenance. This adaptation is applicable to the existing buildings that are undergoing improvement work or little to no construction. So this is applicable to only existing buildings which are already there and there's no design. So the design has happened. So BD plus C and ID plus C is applicable at design stage and construction stage. And this LEED O&M, this is applicable in operational stage of the project when the project is existing and they are either going like very little renovation or improvement work. So this has different adaptations. These are very similar to the BD plus C, but only in the operational phase. So all the categories that are not data centers, warehouses, hospitality, schools, and retail, they come under existing buildings. So that's the logic here. Yeah. So data centers again, it's similar to BD plus C, but only in the operational phase, and similarly for the others as well. Okay. Now the next adaptation, this is applicable to new land development projects or redevelopment projects that contain residential uses, non-residential uses, or are a mixed-use development. So this may be targeted at any stage of the development process from conceptual planning through construction. So okay, in this also it is recommended that at least 50% of the total building floor area to be new construction or major renovation. So this has two adaptations, which is plan and build. Unlike BD plus C, where you have design and construction under BD plus C and operation through O&M. So in this category ND, it's for large developments or large districts. So here you can go for both adaptations. You can go for design and then you can go for a built existing project as well in these two categories. Like plan, these are all conceptual planning or master planning phases or under construction, and built projects are the ones which are completed and they want to go for the certification in their existing or operational phase. Right. So the last adaptation is LEED for homes. This is a voluntary rating system that promotes the design and construction of high performance green homes. So this reference guide is designed to provide guidance for homes in conjunction with the LEED BD plus C guide. So LEED BD plus C rating systems are more focused on commercial projects or the projects that are listed there. It does talk about homes, but this guide actually gives you a guidance of how homes or residential buildings can achieve the same intent. So this is more focused on homes, which again has two categories, which is similar to BD plus C, single and multifamily for 1 to 3 stories, and multifamily for 4 to 8 stories. Okay, so LEED accredited professional. So each reference guide is associated or is connected to a LEED AP specialty. So the LEED APs that you see, LEED GA is the first step and LEED AP is the second step of getting accredited. LEED GA is an overview of understanding LEED and understanding the intent and major requirements, but LEED AP is more specific to a reference guide or a specialty. So in that you have LEED AP BD plus C for BD plus C projects, LEED AP ID plus C for interior design projects, LEED AP O&M for existing buildings, LEED AP ND for neighborhood developments, and LEED AP homes for residential projects. Okay, so now question 2. Which of the following can become LEED certified? A. People, B. Organizations, C. Buildings, or D. Building design professionals? You can pause and reflect what the answer could be, and I'll just move to the answer now. So the answer is C. Buildings. So if you see, we've talked about accreditations, certifications, and memberships. So let's understand what it means. So organizations, they become member, buildings become certified, and building design professionals, they become accredited, which is called LEED accredited professional. So the question is, which of the following can be LEED certified? So the answer would be buildings. Let's talk about the certification process. So the certification process is basically when the project wants to target, and what would be the strategy, how does it start, what are the different processes in achieving the final certificate for the project. So to understand LEED process, first we need to understand how the LEED certification is built briefly. So in this certification, you know that it's a point-based system, and buildings can earn credits, each of which is worth a certain number of points. The points are basically for the credits, and there are also prerequisites here, which are mandatory for a project, and they do not contain any points. Right. So you have prerequisites, then you have base credits, which comprise of 100 points. So these are not one credit, one requirement, but these are segregated separately for each requirement. Each requirement has different points. So the total comes out to 100 points for base credits, and then prerequisites for no points. And then you have bonus points for innovation, 6 points, and regional priority, 4 points. And the total comes out to 110 points for the certification. And based on the points achieved by the project, the level of certification is determined based on the following scale. So 40 to 49 points is LEED certified, 50 to 59 points is silver certified, 60 to 70 points is gold certified, and platinum certification is given for 80 and above points. Okay, so the LEED process. So the first step for LEED process is basically to hold a design charrette for all key participants or all key stakeholders, where they can discuss a strategy and map out the goals of the project. So this stakeholders includes your owner, architects, engineers, contractors, landscape architects, commissioning agents, and sometimes operators as well. So in O&M in existing cases, and also in BD cases in some areas. So this design charrette, which is also discussed as part of the integrative design process, which is the first credit of LEED in all these rating systems, that there should be an integrated approach to design, so that there is a strategy in place and the goals are defined very early in the project. So the first step is registration. Registration is simply registering the project with all the details, with all the project details, the location, the area, and yeah, so the names and everything. So that comes under registration. That is simply done on LEED Online. And then prepare application. So preparing the application includes working on the project, working on the credits, and collecting the documents from the design teams, doing all the calculations, uh, doing all the documentation, and it includes all your major drawings, your plans, your calculations, and then your specification sheets or all those. So that you have to compile that and you have to upload it for the project in terms of preparing the application, and then submit the application on LEED Online. So everything that we see here that is done on LEED Online when it comes to certification. After you submit your application to GBCI, so you do it on LEED Online and it is submitted to GBCI for review. Then the application review happens. So this review happens at different stages. So there is a preliminary review that happens right immediately, which is the first review. Then you have a review response. So based on the review, you get certain comments from GBCI, and then you have to give the response to those comments, which will be major clarifications or any redocumentation or resubmission of documentation. Then there is a final review. Final review will give out what the project is achieving now, and then you have to either accept the certification. So if you accept the review and accept the level of certification, then the certification is achieved and you get the certificate for the building for the desired rating. If you deny, if you're not happy with the level of certification or the number of points the project has achieved, then you go for an appeal review. So after you do an appeal, there's an appeal review. This is applicable only if you go for denial and if there is something that the project team has not achieved or what they anticipated has not happened. So then you go for the appeal review. So this is the high level process of the certification. Credit. So now we have the CIRs or credit interpretation request. A CIR is basically a query that allows a project team to obtain technical guidance related to a particular credit or facet of the lead rating system. And once the project team files a CIR, they are they are assigned to a technical advisory group or tag, which are a group of industry experts, and then they will let you know if your interpretation of a particular credit is aligning with the published rating system or if it is consistent with that. So each CIR that you fill, it costs around $220 each, and that is also done on the LEED online portal. This is project specific. Once you register the project, then only you can file the CIRs on the same portal where the project is showcasing. And again, these should be submitted through LEED portal, and these are limited to 600 words. And this must not contain any documentation. So you know that when you do a review, you have to submit the documentation, but CIRs should not be treated as a submission, and they are merely a help or an advisory or a guidance. So they should not contain any documentation. It should merely be in terms of words. It should be limited to words. So the next section is lead online, which we have just discussed now, and this basically is a portal where you do all the registration, the certification, the reviews, the review responses, and then the final certificate. And all the payments are also done on this portal as well. So this is basically used by the project teams so they can manage their projects on the website, and this contains all the credit templates and it allows the team to upload the documentation, photos, site plan, floor plans, any calculations or any specifications, and also to submit the credit interpretation request. So currently all V4 projects, V4 and above, and all V2009 campus projects, they're all eligible to use this platform for submission. So actually before this, I think there was a different way of submission. So that's where this is important to understand that this is when the Lead Online portal has come up for these projects. And this portal is basically administered by a project administrator for that particular project. And actually, the project team must choose a lead project administrator. And the following task is managed by them, inviting team members to Lead Online. So there's a portal there where you can add the team members and then assign the team members to credits in Lead Online. So, for example, landscape credits could be assigned to the landscape designer, and mechanical credits could be assigned to them. And you can assign one or more team members. And then you have to submit your project application to GBCI for review. And this is all done in Lead Online. So this is how the portal looks like. You have the projects here, your project name here, and then there's a project code generated once you register the project, the type or the adaptation that the project is going for, and then the dates and the project type and the building gross floor area. And this is a whole page, and this is just a snapshot. So here also you have credits under which you upload, or there's credit templates for each of the credits. And then you have the team here where you add your team, and there's timeline and interpretation. The interpretations is the CIRs which is discussed. And these are clarifications and payments. The last section is pilot credit library. These are basically proposed credits that are used to test or evaluate a strategy before they can be considered for incorporation into the LEED consensus process for approval by USGBC membership. And these are open for at least 1 year. So these credits are nothing but all the proposed credits by the project teams itself, whoever has gone for certification or whoever is a USGBC member. They have proposed these credits, and these are not explicitly covered in the LEED rating system, which is why these can be used in the innovation category. So in the innovation category of the whole scoreboard or the whole categories, you have an innovation credit under which there is an option to attempt pilot credits. So this pilot credit library is very helpful for that. You can search and you can find your credits that may be applicable to you and then may be easily achievable for you to gain those bonus points. So this is how the pilot credit library looks like. I have the rating system filtered here and the version, and then you can see the pilot credits that are proposed by different regions and different uh, project teams. Okay, so moving to the last question. Now we have just finished the content of the video. So this is the last question, which states that a 700 square feet new construction project is targeting 82 points for certification. Which level of certification can it achieve? A. Gold, B. Platinum, C. None, or D. Silver. You can pause and understand what the question means. I'll move to the answer. So the answer is C. None. So if you see here, as per the MPR number 3, a building should have minimum GFA of 1000 square feet. So we understand that the project is targeting 82 points. You might be seeing that and see that, oh yes, it can achieve platinum. So you can simply look at platinum. But if you read the question again, there's also an area associated that's 700 square feet, which does not fall under the MPR. So it does not comply with the MPR. So it will not receive any certification or any level of certification. Yeah, so that's pretty much for LEED process. If you have any doubts, feel free to contact or leave a comment. And see you in upcoming videos. Thank you so much.